This loss you are carrying, the one that still aches when the world grows quiet, the one you replay in your mind late at night, wondering what you did wrong. What if it was never a punishment? What if the door that closed was never meant to trap you, but to pull you out of a burning room? We are taught to measure love by what stays, to measure success by what we hold, to measure worth by what chooses us back. So when something leaves, when something breaks, when something is taken from our hands, we assume we have failed. We assume we were rejected. We assume God turned away. But the heart was never created to cling. It was created to trust. Loss shakes us because it exposes where our hearts were resting. It reveals what we made our refuge. And that realization can feel unbearable. You thought that thing would save you. That person, that plan, that version of your future. You leaned your heart against it and said, "This is where I belong." And when it collapsed, so did you. But listen gently now. Sometimes what breaks is not your heart. It is your illusion. You are not being punished for loving. You are being rescued from forgetting who deserves your deepest reliance. There is a kind of loss that comes to destroy, and there is a kind of loss that comes to awaken. One takes without mercy, the other takes with wisdom. This kind of loss feels cruel at first because it doesn't explain itself. It doesn't come with closure or clarity or comfort. It just comes with silence. And in that silence, you begin to unravel. You question your worth, your choices, your faith. You replay conversations. You imagine different endings. You bargain with God in the quiet of your prayers. Just give it back. You whisper, "I'll do better this time." But sometimes God doesn't return what was lost, because returning it would cost you something far greater. It would cost you your growth, your freedom, your becoming. Some losses are mercy disguised as grief. There are relationships that feel like oxygen but slowly suffocate the soul. Dreams that sparkle but quietly pull you away from who you were meant to be. Paths that feel familiar but lead you further from your purpose. And God, in His gentleness, removes them before they hollow you out, not because you are undeserving, but because you are too precious to leave unprotected. Loss is not always a verdict. Sometimes it is an intervention. We think love means holding on at all costs, but sometimes love means being pulled away from what would have destroyed us if we stayed. And the pain of that pulling, it feels unbearable because the heart resists rescue when it mistakes captivity for comfort. You didn't lose because you were weak. You lost because you were human, because you loved, because you hoped. And none of those are sins. But when love turns into dependence, when hope turns into attachment, when the creation replaces the creator in the heart, that is when mercy comes in the form of loss, not to shame you, but to save you. There is a reason you couldn't hold on to it. no matter how tightly you tried. A reason every effort collapsed. A reason every door closed no matter how much you knocked. God was not ignoring your tears. He was answering a deeper prayer you didn't know how to voice. The prayer for protection. The prayer for truth. The prayer for alignment. Sometimes what we ask for is small, and what God gives is eternal. But eternity requires letting go of what was never meant to last. And so the heart grieves. It grieves what it imagined, what it planned, what it hoped would heal the emptiness. But that emptiness was never meant to be filled by anything temporary. You see, loss does not empty you. It reveals what was already empty. And in that revelation, there is an invitation to return to yourself, to return to God, to return to a faith that does not depend on outcomes. Because faith that only survives when things go your way was never faith. It was convenience. Real faith is forged in the absence of answers, in the ache of uncertainty, in the choice to trust without guarantees. This loss is asking you a question. Where will your heart rest now? Will it continue searching for safety in what can be taken? Or will it finally rest in the one who never leaves? The pain is not proof of abandonment. It is proof that your heart is waking up. And waking up hurts. Because it requires shedding illusions. It requires releasing identities built on people, roles, achievements, and expectations. You are not who you lost. You are not what failed. You are not the dream that didn't survive. You are something deeper, something held, something guided, even now. Especially now. This loss did not come to end you. It came to interrupt what was quietly undoing you. And one day, when clarity replaces confusion, when peace replaces desperation, when trust replaces fear, you will see that what felt like punishment was actually protection. There comes a moment after loss when the noise finally settles. The shock fades. The questions soften. And you are left alone with yourself. Not the version you were performing for the world, but the quiet, stripped version that remains when everything else is gone. This is the moment most people try to escape. They rush to replace what was lost. They fill the silence with distractions. They search for something, anything to numb the ache. But this moment, this stillness, this raw, exposed space, it is sacred. Because it is here that healing begins. Not by fixing what broke, but by realigning what drifted. Loss has a way of pulling the heart back to truth. It removes the masks, the false comforts, the borrowed identities. It leaves you with only what is real. And what is real is that you were never meant to be sustained by anything that could leave. Your heart was created to anchor in something eternal, something unshakable, something that does not depend on circumstances to remain. When that truth is forgotten, life gently reminds you. And sometimes, life is not gentle. But even in its harshness, there is mercy. Because a heart that is broken open is a heart that can finally receive. Receive clarity. Receive wisdom. Receive a deeper form of peace. Not the peace that comes from control, but the peace that comes from surrender. You may not see it yet, but something is being rearranged inside you. The loss didn't just take something away. It made space. Space for a new understanding of purpose. Space for a stronger connection to faith. Space for a version of you that no longer clings out of fear. You are being taught how to stand without leaning on what was never meant to carry you. And that lesson is painful, but it is powerful. Because once you learn it, nothing can enslave your heart again. The fear you feel now, it's not fear of being alone. It's fear of trusting again. Fear of hoping. Fear of opening your heart to uncertainty. But understand this gently. Trust does not mean attaching your heart to outcomes. It means attaching your heart to God and allowing outcomes to come and go. There is freedom in that kind of trust. Freedom from obsession. Freedom from desperation. Freedom from the constant anxiety of loss. Because when your heart belongs to God, nothing else can possess it. This is what the loss came to teach you. Not that love is dangerous, but that misplaced love is heavy. Not that hope is foolish, but that hope without surrender is exhausting. You are allowed to grieve, to mourn, to miss what was. But do not confuse grief with regression. You are not moving backward. You are shedding weight. You are being lightened. The things that left were not strong enough to walk with you into what comes next. And what comes next requires a heart that is free. Free from the need for validation. Free from the fear of abandonment. Free from the illusion that security is found in anything created. This freedom does not come overnight. It arrives slowly, through tears, through reflection, through quiet moments of choosing trust again and again. But it comes, and when it does, you will feel different, calmer, clearer, less reactive, more rooted. You will stop chasing what doesn't choose you. You will stop begging for what drains you. You will stop shrinking to be held. Because you will finally know who holds you. Loss humbles the heart, but humility is not humiliation. It is alignment. It is the heart remembering its true place. And from that place, something beautiful grows. A faith that is no longer transactional. A purpose that is no longer dependent on applause. A sense of peace that does not collapse when life shifts. This is the transformation no one talks about. The quiet empowerment that comes after surrender. You begin to move differently, love differently, choose differently, not from fear, but from clarity. And clarity is a gift. So if you are standing at the edge of a new year, carrying the weight of what you lost, let this be the year you stop asking why it happened and start asking who you are becoming because of it. Let this be the year you release what was never meant to define you. The year you trust without clinging. the year you step forward without needing guarantees. Your life is not over. It is being refined. Your heart is not broken beyond repair. It is being softened for something deeper. This loss did not ruin you. It rescued you. And one day, when you look back with healed eyes and a steadier heart, you will whisper with gratitude instead of grief. Thank you for letting go of what I couldn't. If this message reached something tender within you, share it with someone who needs it. And if you are seeking continued guidance toward healing faith, inner peace, and life transformation, subscribe and walk this journey of growth together.